Well, we do have our sort of house plants and our subtropicals outside again because it went from super cold to like I think the low to this morning was 56, which is pretty good, you know. I'm okay with the low of 45 sometimes because a lot of fruit trees and stuff we have, need chill hours. But some of these guys here, 45 is on the border of some of the tropical plants, at least, where they're happy, like the alamandas or whatever you call them. A lot of birds out here, but as you can see, it's pretty dreary. It's a little bit of a sprinkling going on, just a light sprinkle. I think we got a leopard frog or something right there in our little. Oop, did you see it just pop in the water? Our little watering station for plants here. It looks like our little catlay guavas are okay. There might be a little bit of stress on the top leaves there. These are supposedly hardy till 22 degrees, at least when they get larger. Taro here looking a little worse for wear. And our little black Suriname cherry, it's got a little bit of tip and leaf burn here, but it looks for the most part like it came out mostly unscathed through that 29-degree freeze we had. This field of pumpkin vines has almost went flat. So look at there, you remember you could not see here. We found all kinds of hidden pumpkins, since we've grown them, and they're just mostly flat. I hope that I have time to go collect at least the higher stuff that there's no chance of them like resprouting up there and using that as green material before it dries out and turns into just carbon. That would be some really good compost. Check out, there's one side of the fence and here's the other. I mean, look at all of that freaking green plant material. The bad news is all this stuff I planted here before I planted this pumpkin, I don't see it. The tree plants and everything, this pumpkin might have just like bulldozed everything down and just, I don't know. I guess there is a downside to this, but I had no idea that one pumpkin plant could grow thousands of feet all over the place and just take over. So, there is a bad side of having something like this happen, for sure. So it would have been nice if this would have happened away from any other, smaller plants that are just, trying to, that weren't fully, grown or whatever. So fully grown tea trees or tea shrubs or whatever would probably have survived this. It'd be nice if once this stuff is cleared out, that something starts coming up. But for right now, it does not look like that's going to happen. Looks like our avocado tree looks pretty good. Papaya still looking rough. The pineapple definitely got a little bit of burn or something on some of the leaves. But hopefully with this little pine straw and all we had here, it'll protect the main plant. We'll see. I looked at a calendar from last year that had the average last frost dates in this area. And it takes up the whole of March. So March 11th through the 20th. So I want to show you guys a palm tree in its own bucket there. And for whatever reason, it was just set here years and years ago. And now it's in a, it went through the bucket, and I would say it's in its permanent home. It's very pretty. I think the one down there is a slightly different fan palm than this one. One of them is a Chinese fan palm. It's been so long. Anyway, a long time ago, I was wanting to start a nursery, like a palm tree nursery or something. Planted hundreds and hundreds of seeds, cypress, palms, all kinds of palms, rare palms. And I just decided after a year or two that it wasn't for me. We didn't really have enough land. It was so wet here. And I seen other palm tree nurseries, they would plant in land versus like just putting them in pots together. So when it's time to harvest it, they either dug them up with a shovel, or if they're big like this, they would use some kind of heavy machinery, some kind of tractor or something. But I couldn't compete with somebody that had 10 acres of just palm trees in their ground. They seem to grow faster and yada yada. So, when you start like in the nurseries or any kind of things, hobby businesses, whatever, there's a lot of learning experiences. So I don't regret doing this. You learn things, you move on, and I've moved on mostly to fruit trees over the years. Fruiting shrubs and trying to get into root vegetables and stuff like that. Still not successful with strawberries. Obviously, I'm not very successful with sweet potatoes. I would like to do peanuts in a, more successful way than I have in the past. And I realize sometimes you guys maybe click on one of these videos and like, where are you planting the trees? Are you planting? Let's do something productive. Every time, let's do something that's informative and fun. But when you make a daily garden vlog or whatever, sometimes you have a period where there's just looking and observing, and later on they'll be just fertilizing and feeding the plants, and then you have propagating, putting seeds in, and then going to nurseries and yada yada. But I don't know anybody that plants a fruit tree every day of the year. you know With that being said, I do have, I think, 3 more fig trees to plant soon. I do have, I think, 2 passion flowers, which I really want to wait till the last frost date, And I think I have a gardenia, which isn't a fruit tree, but for Natalie. So if you're wondering why I'm focusing on this tree here, this was a grapefruit that I planted. And you're probably looking at it and saying, that's not a grapefruit. About 15 years, 14, 15 years to produce fruit. And it looks like an orange. Tastes like a very bland orange. So what is it? So grapefruits are true to seed, but they can also have 2 separate DNAs. So in general, when you plant a grapefruit seed, you'll have a stronger plant that is the clone or somewhat like a clone of the parent plant. And then the other embryo, usually a weaker plant, doesn't grow as much. Sometimes it'll just die off on its own. Will be a cross-pollinated plant with something else, an orange or whatever. So, in my best recollection, this is a tangelo, a grapefruit and orange cross that just was not good. Bad luck. We got the one that was the genetically different plant and not the clone. And I might have just planted 20 seeds in a bucket and just plucked, one, and it must have been the one that wasn't the clone, and then one, it just on its own it grew out, and this is what happened. This is a crappy tangelo. I don't know if you could graft on one this big and change it, but otherwise, these things are just compost. When I used to plant, grapefruit seeds and stuff. They're usually from the grocery store or something, and I always chose ones that had a superior quality. That's what I was wanting to clone, to get that. To wait 14 or 15 years to have that thing there kind of sucks. But hey, it's not really hurting anything where it's at. It's in a bad area anyway. I guess if I want to educate people a little bit here, if you guys find a good grapefruit or whatever, and not all citrus are true to seed. If it's like Meyer lemons and all, they're not true to seed. Although I've heard people say they planted Meyer lemon seeds and they produced a decent lemon. Grapefruits, for the most part, are. You should not just plant all the seeds together in a pot. Just put one in like one of the little peat things or whatever, where you buy this tray full of 20 or 30 or whatever little tiny things that expand when you put water in them. Put one seed in there. If you get 2 or 3 sprouts, take all of the weakest ones, pinch them off, and just allow the strongest one to survive, and that'll give you the best chance of getting a clone of what you were planting. So if you liked what you ate from the grocery store, a grapefruit, have at it, Hopefully you don't have to go through this, especially if you have limited yard space. Our yerba mate here really isn't looking super happy, but, it's in really nice fertile ground. If it, hopefully it bounces back. I really can't wait to start working here in Wetland Zone 1 again. I can't wait to start, finding a new place for, more raised age wood chip bed, alternative beds as well. And I can't wait, I'm getting antsy. I want to plant some more stuff. I want to buy some more nursery stock. We really need to get some seedling American persimmons, for grafting material later on. And the ones I've gotten just did not make it. I may have one single plant, but we need grafting material so we can try to graft, some of the more rare American persimmons for Wetland Zone 1 here. At least 2 like grafted ones would be nice. It would also be nice if one day we could make a strip, that a little pathway that Natalie can get her wheelchair through this Wetland Zone 1. That's going to be very difficult to figure out a way to do it without just, check out the trees that fell. I mean, how are we going to move that guy? Do we need to wait years before it rots? Do we need to come here with chainsaws and somehow pick it up with a crowbar and, put some blocks or boards underneath it and cut it into, slice it up to move everything around? This is going to be a challenge, a long-term challenge to figure out how to get that to work. But we also have more planting to do here, a lot more planting and planning, I guess. We got to make sure, see if everything we've done survived, is that maypop going to come back, the banana mound over there? Or we're probably going to expand that mound over time if it gives us any hint of success. So time is something we really don't have here. 5-person family, person in a wheelchair, 3 kids that are not independent and not always wanting to come out and work either. We'll bring the kids out, and 1 or 2 will go back and forth somewhere else. I want to go inside and see mama. Well, see, they're not stationary. It would be better if, either they're more completely independent, or if they were all, in a stroller or somewhere where you can just set them down somewhere and just work, and they can be 5 or 10 foot away from you. And, maybe in a few years, they'll be help to us. The oldest one is doing dishes, cleaning, he's got the the majority of the chores for, and the middle one is hit or miss, but mostly miss. And then the youngest one, he doesn't do maybe 1 out of 50 things you ask him to do. Anyway, I'm sure this is getting long, and there's the train coming. So take care until we see the garden tomorrow.